Good morning, traders, and welcome to the live trading webinar with Scott Pulcini. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Scott will be going through live trades here. He does this every Thursday. It is futures trading, so learn from a professional how he trades, how he reads order flow and integrates that within his trading. Scott has some very unique ways of trading, and also go through trade management, entries and exits. We've been doing webinars with Scott for some years now. Interesting backstory where he traded 10% of the S&P futures volume back in 2002 to 2005. He does offer mentorship and education. I'll put this into the chat if you want to reach out to Scott. You've got his email, his website, his trading room, educational course, etc. Let's go through the disclosures and then get right to Scott. So general disclosure, all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Live trading is in simulation, demo, paper trading mode and strictly for educational purposes. Live trading executed in simulation cannot accurately represent realistic trading performance. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. An investor could potentially lose all or more than the initial investment. Risk capital is money that can be lost without jeopardizing one's financial security nor lifestyle. Only risk capital should be used for trading, and only those with sufficient risk capital should consider trading. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So please know what you're getting involved with here. This is for educational purposes only. All right, Scott, are you in here?
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
All right. If you can project your screen, and then we'll get going here. Guys, a couple of other things to go over. Later today, we have a pro trader webinar with Fausto Pugliese or Puglisi. He will be going over stocks in his process there. And then all next week, we're going to be having a webinar, pro trader webinar series on options and Bookmap. All right, so it should be great. Looking forward to that. A lot of traders out there have requested options information and reading the underline in Bookmap. So just want to let you know about those events. All right, we're all set to go, Scott.
All right, not sure where we're going. Nothing going on here, but waiting patiently. There's a couple things I have noticed here. This is a pretty important spot gamma level. Here we popped a little bit above it, but he talks a lot about these levels, and then if you have this real-time hero, which is one of his products, you have it. It's also available on Bookmap. You start seeing divergences. This isn't a crazy divergence, so and he's changed his chart too, so I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of this chart. I just know this is the price of the product. So that
the pink line is both puts and calls together, so it's the delta.
Right. No, I know that part. I'm talking
okay.
about this stuff, like these newer lines he's put in here, as far as I don't know what they are. So
hey, he's going to be presenting next week, Monday. If you want to ask him, or we'll ask him there.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's talked about it. He's done a bunch of webinars. I just haven't been up to speed on it. But I watch this in a very general sense. I try not to. You can dive down to this options info. I can go down a huge rabbit hole. It's all very interesting. But in my trading, I try to keep everything as simple as possible, as I always talk about. So all I know is when you see the options going one way and you see the market going the other, the market eventually will turn around and start to move towards the options and options activity. So there's a little divergence here. Again, the black is the price of the SPX, and that's the options. Then if you look at SPY, same type of thing. It's not a crazy divergence. Sometimes you'll see this black line like up here, and then the options down here. This is not a red light, green light indicator like I always talk about, but you want to keep an eye on it, especially at important spot gamma levels like this here. And then he comes out as a commentary every day, and he basically, the main levels, 4,000 resistance, 3960 to 3950 is the pivot. So this is right around where we're at. And again, it's, we could pop a little bit above there and then have it fail. So I'm watching this zone or this area closely. Bigger picture view. I also know this is the top of a current multi-day balance here. This is a very, very important balance area. So you could make this one big balance area, activity here. Balance areas again are just traders placing bets, right? Guys are short, guys are long, guys are short, guys are long, and when it finally moves out of here, that's when you get the pukes, right? So when markets break out of balance like this one did, you expect it to hold and continue higher. Well, this one has come straight back, and now this is a very critical area. So when markets break out of balance areas, they can retest the top of the balance area and then continue onward. The last area of support would be the high volume node, and that's where we're at right now. So it not only, it did retest this area, but it didn't do that, and now we're just sitting here. So I'm leaning towards this type of move just based on one, it had its chance to continue to rip higher, it didn't happen, and now it had its chance to bounce off this high volume node, and instead we just built more balance right here. So the move out of this balance area is very likely going to be the extended move, and they're talking options expiration on Friday is tomorrow is is it tomorrow or is it next Friday? Hold on. Let's see here. I think it's tomorrow. No, next week's FOMC, and then I think next Friday is the OPEX. Here we go. Or is this tomorrow? This is probably tomorrow. So either way, it may just bounce around on this balance area today, and there has not been one signal in any equity market today. Actually, barely anything except for gold, and I missed that trade. We'll go over that. There's been a little bit in soybeans, but bottom line is this thing is just kind of sitting in this balance area. So we're right at the top of this zone where this has failed multiple times, right? You can see this is a resistance area. This zone was drawn from something over here, and I just left it in because it was important for a while. A lot of times when you draw these zones, so this was the directional conviction that led to this whole up move, right? That's where this started. And then we came back here and you had buying tail, buying tail, buying tail, then it finally broke, selling tail, and then you had a gap up this day, ripped right through it, came back, kind of struggled here. So, I technically can, when a market trades through an important zone a bunch of times, you can remove it. I just left this in, especially now it's showing it as the top of this balance area as well, so I'll leave this in. So the point is, if this is able to break out of here, then I'm expecting moves up into these areas, right? If it could very easily hold here and come back to the bottom and then do that. That's what I'm expecting based on what we just talked about. But you come up every day, you look at the bigger picture, and you come up with if-then scenarios, right? I have in my mind what I think should happen. This should hold here, and then we should do that. If this happens to bust out of here, then I'm ready to pivot and look for longs, right? Because again, this is balance. This is a multi-day balance going back to last week, right? So these are traders, longer-term traders loaded up in here. If this is able to move out of here, these shorts are feeling pain. They're going to puke, and that's going to lead to most likely an up move, right? If it moves lower, then the longs are screwed. So that's what I'm waiting for here, and you can tell it's just nothing going on. Guys just holding their breath, basically. So there was close to a threshold set up over here. This was like 600, but 636. I mean, it was pretty close.
Soybean iceberg sells ES 200 free contracts.
636. I don't usually go under my thresholds. I'll go above. I'll raise my threshold for the day if I keep seeing. So my threshold in ES is 700, meaning I need to see at least 700 icebergs to draw the zone to play off the zone, right? I rarely go below that. I guess you could have drawn this. I'm just going to wait for something else. But this was interesting here. This is another great feature of Bookmap Global Plus. Here you can see these sweeps. That's important information, right? You had 2,400. Someone swept the order book buy sweeps for 2,400, right? And then you had another 600 here. Then you had a little buy ice. So this area is really important. So if this holds, then we're probably going to break out of this balance area to the upside that I just showed. If this fails, then there's a lot of longs that were jumping in here that are going to be in trouble. So I'm not going to draw that zone. I want to stay consistent with my thresholds. And here's another swipe too. But you can see here, so you've had, this is interesting, right? This is the transparency of this stuff. This shows you, what's really going on in these markets. You're looking at a bar chart. You have no idea what this just happened. You had 3,500 swipes here. You had another 3,700 swipes here. You had a little bit of ice. This is a very important area. There are loaded up traders in this area, right? Everything's fractal. So this is like a mini balance area that I was just showing on an hourly chart. It's the same thing right now. So these are traders. Someone is swiping this. So somebody's selling it when it gets swiped. So the guys that were aggressive are kind of like, what's happening here? This is not going up. We swiped 6,000 contracts, 7,000 contracts, and it's not moving higher. And the sellers, who were the responsive sellers, the passive sellers that got their orders swiped, they're holding their breath too.
Stops LGC, 167 contracts.
They're holding their breath as well. So that's what a balance area is. The guys placing bets. So the move out of here is probably going to be a big move. Right? So that's what I'm waiting, and I'm waiting for an actual setup that's threshold. So that's that. Gold, I missed a trade here earlier. I stepped out of my office, of course, and it was perfect. So there was a monster stop run here earlier. Again, you can see the sweeps. That's why these sweeps are great. So all stops are sweeps, but not all sweeps are stops, right? So this was a sweep. It was a stop run. These over here in ES, these were sweeps, but they weren't stop runs, right? So all stops are sweeps, not all sweeps are stops. So these were just normal sweeps, but they were not stop runs. If they were stop runs, you'd see it on the SI subchart. So it's just good information to have, and that's part of. I always get these questions, these emails asking if they should get regular global or global plus. Global plus, you get the sweeps indicator, the absorption indicator. What other indicators come with this, Bruce? I don't know all of them.
I'm sorry, say again, Scott?
What other indicators come with the Global Plus? Because I always get questions when guys are trying to set up Bookmap or buy Bookmap. They're like, well, what should I get, Global or Global Plus? What's the other indicators besides the sweeps and the absorption indicators?
So you get the imbalance indicator, a strength indicator, a large lot tracker, and many, they're all useful. The sweeps and absorption are, I think, more useful. They're newer, and they're pretty nice what they can show. The other ones are great. I've been demoing the volume and book and balance recently, but also trading from the chart with one click, which is a huge benefit. That all comes with Global Plus.
Right. Yeah, and then when he was talking about the strength indicator, that is basically just synthetic icebergs that they can.
Yeah, right. We had to kind of
explain it better than I can.
Yeah, it was a kind of a way. There's two actual ways of trying to detect them, the synthetic icebergs, and they were just giving us false positives, and it was so dependent on quality data that. Rhythmic was the best, but the MBO data is spot on. If you want to look at native iceberg orders, look no further. This is just the facts. It's much more high quality.
Right. So for those of you who want to know, the strength indicators over here, and it's basically there's two different types. Just Google this stuff, Bookmap strength level indicator, and I'll talk all about it. But it's basically, and that's what this is showing here. It's showing you synthetic. So some of the icebergs are, not. So the icebergs the icebergs you see in the subchart are through the CME exchange, right? And that's how, and through the CME MBO data, they're able to disseminate that information and give you this incredible information, right? Some firms pay extra and they do a synthetic type where you're not seeing it through the CME, but Bookmap is still able to pick it up based on the activity in the order book, right? So it's like with icebergs, they're obviously hidden orders because big money doesn't want to flash big size because the algos will run away. So This, for instance, could have been like a 10 lot in the order book, and then when it hit, they can pick up the way the transaction occurred, that it obviously showed 10, but 300, almost 300 traded, so they can figure out, Bookmap developers can figure out, hey, there was an iceberg, there was synthetic, that wasn't part of the SI subchart, the CME MBO data. This means it was basically done through a firm on their own type of thing, right? And that costs more money. That's why most firms usually go through the CME to place their icebergs and stuff. But it's kind of diving down a rabbit hole. But just so you know what some of these. So the whole idea, what I was trying to get at was the global plus is the way to go in my opinion, just from the sweeps alone and the sweeps and absorption indicator alone. But I'll talk about that. I got my new course coming out. I'm hopefully to have it done in the next week or so. But I'll talk about the synthetic or the strength indicator in there as well. How I use it anyway. All right. So anyway, yeah, there was a setup down here. Gold. There was a monster stop run. You can see these sweeps from earlier. Let's see. This one here. This was like 1,000 stops, right? And then it came back down. Then you had another, it makes this one look small. So threshold there is 150. So this was double threshold and it makes it look tiny. There was actually back to back. But you had the big one, then you had the second one here, and the second one, this is this white zone here. That was this. And that should have been for me an aggressive entry long, because you guys hear me every week talk about the Ludwig levels. We call them lugs. You can see how well this worked. I mean, this 3 different times. This came close. This touched exactly. This got just a tiny bit below it. But this was the stop run setup. So some of the best trades out there are SI indicator setups. One of my 6 setups at important Ludwig levels. The big, she calls them big blue, big red, right? So at these areas, it's where I'll take the setup aggressively. Meaning I get the setup, and as soon as it moves an ATR, just outside an ATR. Out of that setup, I'm long. So I should have been long on this setup, and I just was not in my office. So I would have been in. I believe at the time the ATR was about 25 ticks. So I would have, as soon as this fired off, I would have had my order ready to rock. 25 ticks above the top of the zone, and I would have been in. And it's pulling back a little bit now, but now you're just getting an algoville. So pull back. So actually, this is a retest failure of this area too, but. I take that back. That was this was this setup here. But if I was long, this is a new setup here, so we could draw this. It's not as big as the other ones, obviously. You got to be careful in gold. I continue to say in my room every day that they've got to have the worst traders on the planet in this market. It is nothing but stop runs, just stop. So you can get whipsawed in here very easily. But what you want to look for in gold, what I've been trading off of mostly, unless I see a monster stop run, is just waiting for icebergs, because they're few and far between in here, and you're just playing the stop runs, you're getting whipsawed all day long. So this is the most recent setup. So if I were long from down there, maybe if you guys have been following me, you guys could have easily caught that trade and been long here. Well, this is a new setup, so now you can trail your stop just outside an ATR below the zone. So ATR right now is 25.8, so 26 ticks. I would go 10% outside of there, so you're talking about 20, 28, 29 ticks below this zone to stop out, and then you hold this trade. And so I was long. Again, they all work perfectly when I miss them. If I was long, I would be holding, and I would watch the major Ludwig levels to potentially get out of this trade. So I'd be watching this to get out of, if I had multiple on, to get out of one. I would also I would hold it to see if we can get up to the red lug, and or opposing setups. So if this thing started rolling up and I got a bearish setup, SI indicator setup, one of my 6 setups, and it failed more than ATR outside there, then I'd be out of the trade, right? And then the other important areas you want to watch are tops and bottoms of market profile composites. So those are areas that I get out of my trades that you definitely want to pay attention to. Speaking of which, let's see where we're at here. So this is interesting too. There's not a setup here, but if I got a setup right now in ES, I would take this aggressively, right? Once again, you see how awesome, how powerful these Ludwig levels are, right? So this was overnight. This is going back to yesterday's close. This thing cannot get through this red lug. 1, 2, 3, 4, like multiple times here. Tried here. This is actually a great signal. And again, I talk about this, the one-on-one I did with Pamela Ludwig last year, where I literally, it's very basic. I went in and just asked her basic questions, but one of her favorite setups is when the market does push above or below a major lug and is not able to draw new lugs, that's telling you the conditions aren't there. And then when it gets back below the lug, those are excellent trades, right? So if you're just trading lugs, then you'd be in right now. I personally look for my volume setup, real-time volume setup, that is the driver of all my trading, as anyone who's been on my webinars knows that. So I wait. If I don't get it, I don't get it, right? And if this breaks down, then it breaks down. There's going to be a setup, right? It may not be right here. If this starts rolling down, you're going to see a stop run, especially the area we just talked about with all this area right here. And you can bet once we move out of here, you're going to see some stop runs because there are loaded up traders right here, right now.
Sell RT. 158 contracts.
So we'll look at the Russell here in a second. But when this moves out of here, I will almost promise you there's going to be some kind of stop runs. So the point is, I'm going to miss this trade right now off of the red log because there hasn't been a setup for me. This moves a little lower, there'll be a setup, then I'll get in. Get this over here. This is Tick Strike. I talk about this every webinar too. All this stuff you can get discounts on my website for this. These are all the tools that I use. This is just showing you, I put up the stocks that are the highest weighted, that drive the indices, that drive the futures. This goes from 0 to 15, showing the intensity of the buying or selling. It's an algorithm that he uses that shows speed of the orders and the size of the orders coming in. So this is very important information if you're trying to judge certain areas. So say
NQ December stock sell NQ 157 contracts.
We come down to an important area and you're thinking about getting out and you see these things getting hammered, you probably don't want to be getting out right then, right? Because if they're selling it, why do you want to be buying it?
December Icebergs sell RT 151 contracts.
All right, so now we're getting some setups finally. So this, I'm expecting some pukes and pukes meaning stop runs in ES, like I said, but we're getting some here in NASDAQ. That's threshold. Threshold for me in NASDAQ is 150. When I say threshold, I'm just saying an amount that is tradable. You got to be careful. Many people get Bookmap and it's like they're, get in a candy shop and they want to trade every spike on this thing. There's certain spikes that I will not, I don't trade every spike. It has to be over a certain amount for that market for me to know that's important. And, it's from watching thousands of these over the years that I know what the thresholds are for each and every market, right? That is worth trading. And then that was basically figured out by trial and error, right? So I finally learned, so Bruce, you're going to get a verbal lashing on this webinar. One, why have you not told me about the hotkeys for the drawing tools? You're sitting watching me do this for about 3 years now, and then coming back and editing it. Why didn't you tell me there are any hotkeys, sir?
I did.
When?
I
remember that.
Yeah, and I even pointed you to the knowledge base, like the hotkey list, etc.
I don't remember that. I'm going to call false. You got to go back to one of the 400 webinars to find that. So there's two different things actually that are very important here. So you see this white line. I did not have this white line on before. When I first got Bookmap, when I was doing the stocks, I was going to trade stocks because I was so jaded by futures at the time. And you guys all know the story. Then I went to futures when they came out with this SI indicator because this is the most powerful thing I've ever seen. But at the time, when I first got it, I'm like, this line is annoying me. I don't like that line. I'm just going to look at bubbles, right? Well, then I forgot about it. But someone in my room pointed out, and I'm very grateful for it, that I've been drawing, so let's just take this off, right? I've been drawing my list price. So I've been drawing my zones just on the bubbles, right? So it's like, if a bubble extends up here and down here, so we'll draw this on the bubbles and then see if that's accurate or not. Let's see here. I don't want to miss a trade while I'm giving you guys examples here. So first and foremost, ATR is 28.24 in here. So this did not get an ATR above there. So I haven't missed a trade yet. But the point is, there are some great features as far as being accurate, more accurate with the zones, right? So if I bring on last price, just right click the bubble and then configure visible components, come down to last price, and then you actually see the line of the last price, right? So I can actually, this looks okay for this price. I mean, I could probably move it because you can see the red bubble starter. Actually, this is too high, right? So hold on. Here's my keys here. There's an also I didn't know about. So if you hit edit, then you can drag this zone too instead of redrawing it. This stuff could have saved me hours off my life. So I'm going to draw that to right there as the price for that bubble started, right? So that's on the upside. So the downside, you can see like this is not drawn properly. This was the price. You can see it by the white line. So I'm going to line. So that's going to be way more accurate. Even though the bubble goes below the line, that's the price. So I've been drawing them off the bubbles erroneously. And I don't even want to know how much money that's cost me about getting ticked out and not having the proper, because I trade off ATR off of the zone prices, right? So it's like if the zone prices aren't right, my entries and exits aren't right either. It's a little scary how much that could have cost me, but at least someone spoke up in my room and told me reminded me. Again, I knew about this, but I took it off because when I first got it, I thought I just didn't like the look of it, right? But it's very important now that I'm drawing zones and want to know the prices. So in the last few days, I've learned hotkeys from my room, and I've learned how to draw the last price, or have the last price on there. So hopefully I'm probably going to revert to doing the same thing I've been doing, but I'll try to do the hotkeys as best I can because I know it's annoying to watch as well. All right, so let's see where we are Ludwig level-wise. So I'm not going to sell this aggressively because I don't mess with these major lugs unless I see extremely high relative volume coming into them, and I get to set up like we have right here. If it was extremely high relative volume, then I would, and I'll show you that here in a second, then I would potentially take a short off of this current setup that just fired off on Bookmap, on the SI indicator. This is not extreme volume, so I am not going to take a short aggressively. You've seen, how would that have worked out if you shorted at this 85 times this thing has bounced off the blue lug in the last day? You would not have fared well, right? So this is every time you would have been juked, right? So this is why. So now here we are again. Let's see if this can pierce through here and then build new lugs. Then I'm ready to short, right? So my point is, I would be getting short here. If this was not right at the blue lug, I would be getting short here aggressively, right? Meaning just outside the ATR. Again, the ATR is now up to 38.81, so 31 ticks. 31 points. So 31 points below here, which is basically right here. This isn't a coincidence that these algos start to rip it back at an ATR. I would be getting in short, and then I put my stop in ATR above there. But again, it's just keeps bouncing off this blue lug, so I need to wait. For me, I'm waiting. I just know how powerful these lugs are, so I'm not messing with it until we can bust through here. So that's that. ES, we still haven't got gotten volume set up. But I can tell you there are all these guys are all gung-ho swiping this thing for 7,000 plus contracts. They can't be real happy right now. Even no matter what they were doing, even if they're getting out of trades, they got to be like, damn, why did I swipe up here when I could have saved myself 20 points, right?
NQ December Icebergs sell NQ 152 contracts.
All right, so we got to draw our zone on Russell as well, but we got more. So this is going to be good because if this can hold, bust lower, build new lugs, retest this area, then I can short this newest setup. You can see the sell ice coming in right here. You had some stops. That's not threshold, but the sell ice is. So let's. Oh, and the other thing too, what you can do is dim your bubbles up here. See this little slider? You can make them ridiculous, or you can make them nothing. Now what I can do is I can actually see that line a lot better, and I can draw my zone.
NQ December stock sell NQ 181 contracts.
Much more accurately. So you want to get all the prices. So that actually went up to this price here, right? And I'm gonna have to draw a new zone here anyway because something just fired off. So all you do is incorporate all the prices that happen in this spike.
NQ December Iceberg sell NQ.
All right.
152.
There's new stuff going on. I trade off the newest setup, so we're just gonna draw what just happened. You can see here there was stops, another 180 stops in here. Let's get these going again. and then there is more sell ice. So there's a lot of sell ice coming in here. Let me get rid of this. I'm just going to draw this. You had sell ice, sell stops. So this is actually the Unicorn Stepbrothers. This is the sixth setup that we've come up with that my room named when you have sell ice and sell stops, right? So let's just draw this as one big zone. Let me first, I told you I'm going to keep going to this drawing tool because I'm not used to the hotkeys yet, but let's draw this.
Yeah, Scott, I'm going to have to throw some weight around, and I don't ask for much credit, but when it comes to the important things, I do. I believe I was the one that suggested the Step Brothers.
Really, I don't think that's correct.
All right, I'll let your room come up with that or answer that one. But
take credit for it.
Yeah, I mean answer that one. Yeah, I thought that I had come up with that one.
I've actually never even seen that movie, so I deserve.
It's pretty good.
For that,
it's pretty good. You should watch it.
Okay, so you can see here. So now this zone, I do the purple or pink, whatever color. I'm colorblind. Whatever color this is, for the unicorn type scenario where you get this was threshold 180. You had another 238, and you had sell stops all in this purple unicorn zone, right? So that's drawn properly. I'm pretty sure, or maybe not. No, that is. Let's see. No. So you see here, I did not incorporate this properly for this area. So what I got to do here is zone drawer, mover. I got to move that up, right? I need to incorporate all the prices that happen in this spike. So that should be pretty accurate. No, I still didn't get it. Because this is really important if you're trading off of these zones, right? Because your prices are based off of the zone. So you want to make sure you get all the prices. So you can see that's that white line. That should be good there. And I can bring my bubbles back. I don't want them ridiculous, but all right. So now what I'm waiting for is our new lugs. So I'm hoping they're already drawn. Let's see here. Not yet. So the way what's probably gonna happen here is if this market continues lower, we'll form new lugs, and the yellow lug will probably be right around here, blue will be down here, red will be up here. We have our setup right here, so I'll wait. When we're dancing around the yellow, I wait for ATR retest failure. So I'll wait for the full ATR, a retest, a failure. This is the conservative entry, and then I'll go short. So we're waiting for a lot of things to occur here. I mean, it can happen pretty quick, but the point is, I know this area is very important, right? So all these gung-ho buyers, they're not feeling very good right now, right? You see the blue bubbles, that's signifying the buying, and they ran into mouthfuls of ice, sell ice, right? So this is the stuff I look for. This is the most important part of futures trading, is understand any trading, is the volume, right? You want to know where traders are committing and caught. So all these buyers ran into this, somebody who's selling it secretly, hidden orders. They're not always right. The big money's not always right. They're right more often than they're wrong, but they're not always right. So the point is, you know the area. This is called the volume event. Now we're waiting to see how the market reacts to it to take the trade, right? So that's what I'm doing there. Just heard CL. Let's see what's going on in here. This market's in trouble. We'll go over the bigger picture here in a second. It's been in trouble, but I think it's going lower as well, like now. We'll go over why. So first of all, let's dim our bubbles. Now you can see perfect price line, right? And you can see the on chart, you can see the red, that shows the actual stop run. I mean, how cool is that? That's this, guys, this is information that most traders do not have, that you have. All right, so let me try my little hotkeys here. Gotta get used to this. Like I said, it started, we'll put it right at that red bubble. Well, we'll put it at the here. Because this, obviously, this bubble triggered it, right? If you do this, that kind of triggered it, but we'll start at the line, we'll be accurate. I'll change the color here, and that came down to here. That may or may not be right? Because you see the spike continued over here, so we'll check here in a second. Let me just change the colors here. That's one thing there's not a hotkey for, that is, as far as I know, that would save a lot of time as well. But pickers can't be choosers. All right, so that's that. So let's see if this is correct. So you see, I incorporated in this spike. You can see this white price line. I got all the spikes in here. Actually, that's right. Right. So now I bring my bubbles back. You can see the big selling, which was just stop run, right? All right, so that's step one. Step two is where are we? ATR is 37.3, so it's 30, round up 38 ticks to determine what we're going to do here. And we go to the lugs. So this is an example of this is what I'm expecting in NASDAQ here any minute. But we built new lugs. We're below the yellow lug, so I can take this trade aggressively out of that stop run zone. So if we get 38 ticks below that zone, which is just outside the actually I go 10%. So 41 ticks outside that zone, I will short the market. I will short aggressively. Aggressively meaning I have two different types of trades. Either aggressively, as soon as it gets just outside an ATR, I'm in, or I wait for an ATR, I wait for a retest, I wait for a failure, and then I get in. Right? So this one, because we're below the yellow lug, and I already know this market is in trouble, on top of it, that's not my determining factor though, but I just know, remember we talked about the if-then scenarios, I already know this market is in trouble, so I'm more than happy to short this aggressively. So the next step is 85.20, we're going, what did I say, 38 ticks? Oh, it is 38 ticks, so we're gonna go 41 ticks, we'll go 42 ticks, we're gonna go 10% of an ATR outside, right? So it's the ATR is 38, 10% of that is basically 4, so it's 42, right? So we go 42 ticks below here, puts me at 78 as my entry. I can only put on 2. We'll check that too. Let's see. That is my order. So now that's the short side. Well, does that mean I won't go long? I let the volume area tell me if it's what's happening. I don't just jump in, right? I wait. So if this is able to push a full ATR above here, and I know, okay, then the buyers are winning. And then I wait for the retest failure. The only reason I'm doing the conservative entry on this setup is because we are below the yellow lug. If we were above the yellow lug, I would do the exact, what I was going to do here on the sell side, I would be doing on the buy side. So now we just let this play out and see how this market reacts to the real-time volume event, which is the driver of trading, not lines on a chart, not indicators. It's real-time volume events. All right, it's just I'm very surprised we didn't see stop runs in here out of this area like we were talking about. But if this moves a little lower, you should be starting to see something. But there's just been nothing threshold. But these swipers can't be real happy. No swiping swiper. Anyone with kids knows what that means. All right, let's see what we missed in Russell. So you can see here there was 226. Followed by 178. That's a lot. 150 is threshold for Russell. So let's draw this zone. Let's dim our bubbles. So happy I thought of this. I keep saying that in my room. I'm kidding. The guy in my room pointed this out. It's just saving me so much time and money having accurate zones. All right, so that's that. So I'm going to incorporate both of these areas. It's going to be a bigger zone, but it was basically back to back, right? So just follow it down to these price levels here. I think that's right. That's accurate. Now I can bring the bubbles back. Because when you bring the bubbles in, right, like if you have them like this, it looks like the price is lower than that, right? So that's, you want to be going off the price line, the last traded price, not the bubbles. So it's that zone. And of course, here's your usual ATR, 2 ATR retest of the zone over and over and over and over. If my room is listening, they know what I'm talking about. We have a couple different, so we're working on new strategies too. So I just talk about my general position trading on these Bookmap webinars, right? But in my room, we're working on one at a time, but working on a couple really, really cool strategies, like more of a, it's not, I hate to use the word scalping, but it's more of a shorter time frame, You know, in and out type of trade. I've got about 50 of them in my head, but we're working on one-on-one. So that's another benefit of my room. When we come in here, when I'm on these webinars, I'm just doing my basic position trading because it's just, you know, people are confused enough that are just learning this stuff. I'm not going to start diving into all these different strategies, but that's, you know, again, we're doing that stuff in my room. All right, so let's, so we are above the yellow lug here, right? So meaning any setup I could take aggressively to the long side if it gets out of there, to the short side, and see ATR retests failure, and I think this is happening here right now. ATR in here is 46.5, so 47 ticks. This definitely got 47 ticks below there. I need to be in this trade actually right now. I gotta go for. We'll go over this here in a second. So then my stop goes, actually this is probably too many for the size of this stop. Let me get out of one of these. Of course it moves against, it never moves in my favor for me to take it out if I make a mistake. So we'll go over the sizing stuff here in a second as well. But so now, based on this zone, and this is a pretty wide zone. I mean, this is almost 60 tick zone. This is incorporating again all the sell eyes. So the way I trade these, because algos run the show, they are 85, 90% or more of the trade, right? So I force, when I get in trades, when I go short, I don't just put my stop here. I don't put it in the middle of the zone. I don't put it right outside the zone. I put it a full ATR plus 10% outside of the zone. That helps me from getting algoed because that is the majority of the trade, right? So when the big money is done playing, then the algos start playing, right? You don't want to be the trader that gets stopped out because you don't want to lose a certain amount of money. I only want to risk $400 here, so I'm putting my stop here. Well, this stop means nothing. The market does not care how much you want to lose, right? The market cares about the volume event. So you'd be wise to put your stop outside of the volume event. For me, after watching, again, thousands and thousands and thousands of these, I determined the best way to trade this as a position trade is to get your stop at more than an ATR outside of the zone. And then you don't get whipsawed and stopped out on randomness. And most of the market is algo randomness until the big money comes in, right? So it's just algos, algos, algos. Big money comes in, runs over the algos, then the market trades a certain way, and then the big money stops, then it's back to algos. So, you know, there's a trader in my room that was complaining about, I don't feel, you're basically risking, you know, you're getting in an ATR and then the size of the note, and so I'm risking like 3 ATRs to, you know, to get in the trade. Guys, do you think I like risking up to here? I've learned the hard way though, when I start to mess around with my stops and try to be cute because I don't want to lose a certain amount of money, inevitably I get stopped out on the nonsense. So I'm just giving you my experience. That's why you guys are on the webinars. This is not just some hypothetical stuff. It's from trading thousands of these that I've learned the hard way. Don't mess around. Get your stop outside of the volume event, right? So that would be 40. What did I say this was? 47.4. We're going 10% outside, so it's 48 and 5-ish, 53 ticks, right around 53, 52 ticks. So I'm going 52 ticks above here. Puts me at 24. I'm using the last 2 digits here. So I come up here and I put my stop at 24. Yes, this is a big risk trade, but then you have to just adjust your sizing. You can't control the volatility of the market. You can control how much you trade in that volatility. If you are over trading in a volatile market, you're going to blow out your account. And this is what this spreadsheet is for that I use in my room. Right? This is all part of my room as well. If you come in there, you get access to this. This is actually, I'm actually coming back after my August pummeling drawdown. So right now, let's just see how this works, right? See if I have the right size on. So I'm risking, I got in here 71. So this would be 100 ticks up to here. And then that's another basically 50. So I'm risking 150 ticks on this trade. But the volatility is telling me that, and the size of that, you know, my setup, I think this market can move 300 ticks, right? Or I would put the trade on. So we gotta come all the way down here to 150 ticks. Actually, I could have had 4 on. Could have 5 on, right? So you see 150. I can put 5 on based on my account size that I'm trading with, and then only risking 2% on that account size. You should never be risking more than 1.5 or 2%. So that shows me on this trade, I can put this on. I can put on 5. So let me guess, now that I want to put on more, it's in my face. Let's see. No. waiting on that, so I'll put on 2 more. And my stop goes up here for that. All right, so that is locked and loaded. We're short the Russell. Waiting to see what happens here in NASDAQ. You can see it's just bouncing around the zone where all these traders are loaded up. I think we bounced off the blue lug once again. Yep, no new lugs. So I'm just waiting for new lugs. Right. The other thing you want to notice here too, if this starts to move lower, saw the other day. There's a lot of stuff going on. What else? I forgot if I put an order in here. I can't remember. All right, so there's new setups here. I'm going to shut that. I'll go back to the NASDAQ. So you had stop run. We'll just draw the most recent here. Let's dim our bubbles. Use my awesome hotkeys that Bruce never told me about. Let's go over here and get this going. That's it. And then I think it's down to there. You awake, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I got that.
All right. So, no, actually, yeah, I had this waiting in here. So what I'm going to do with this, as long as this doesn't, because there's going to be instances where kind of like this, right? So we had our first setup. That was this, that we were trading aggressively out of the zone, remember? Then the stop run came in. Didn't draw that one. Then this stop run come in. Well, if you keep getting, you say I want to go short, and I keep getting set up, wrong color, sorry. I keep getting set up. Well, based on the way I trade, I should, based on the newest setup, I'd be canceling this order and waiting for a full ATR below here. But when you're getting stop run, you may never even get in the trade, or you just keep following it down. So the way I do this, as long as this order is going to stay in here, I know this is the newest setup. As long as the market can't get more than an ATR above the newest setup, I'll still short this, but it's even better now because I'll short it here, but I'll trail my stop on the newest setup, right? So instead of risking an ATR above here, I can risk an ATR above this one, right? So I'm about to get filled right here. Let me do my other counter. So that was at what, 78? And we'll go over why crude is getting pummeled, or why I think it's still heading lower. Is that another setup in crude too? So that was another setup. Hold on. So this is what I mean. Like, I'm not going to keep moving my entry down, and I'd miss the whole move, right? So as long as it doesn't get an ATR above here, I'll still short at this price. This is the newest setup. So let's just move this. The newest one. There's been 3 stop runs in a row. Sell stops. So I'm going to draw the newest one. That's where it started. Actually, it started right here. We'll put it there. Down to there. See, and that's incorrect, right? So you make sure you get all these prices inside the spike. So now I've got to come in here. And I love this new feature too that I didn't know about for 4 years. How long have they had these hotkeys, Bruce, so I can get upset? Let me guess, 4 years.
Just about 4 years.
Do you know how many hours of my life I've spent drawing zones and erasing them? And anyone that has watched my webinars, they're pretty annoyed as well, I'm sure. But if you're annoyed, anything I feel. All right, so that's the zone. So I will still enter right where I was off this initial stop run up here. Remember, I was getting in aggressively because we were below the yellow lug off of this stop run. That's this order. Well, I'm going to keep this in here. Even though the new one came in, I'll still fill on this, but now I can trail my stop based on this. So actually, I can even put on more size here, is what I could do. Because I'm not risking as much now.
NQ December stock sell NQ 193 contracts.
All right, so the Russel's working here.
ES December stop sell ES.
There they are.
01 contract.
There they are.
NQ December iceberg by NQ 151 contract.
All right, just quickly here. So we got a ways to go to anything, as long as there's not an opposing setup here.
GC 335 contract.
I'm holding this to baby lug and regular lug, and then you also want to watch market profile composite. You can see the market struggled to get in here the other day. This is a very important area, 1830. So right around this area, actually the first one, 1830 is up here. I'll probably get out of a couple right there, and then I'll let the rest ride and see if we can get down to the blue lug. All right, so let's see if we should have new lugs in NASDAQ here, I would think. Come on. All right, first and foremost, let's go to while we're waiting for that.
Sell GC 293 contracts.
Oh, gold's getting smushed. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. All right, so this is the stop run I was waiting for, right? I'm surprised I went this far before it actually started getting smoked. Guy's puking. You can see. They held their breath for a while here, though, but then I said, okay, I'm out. I think there's more to come, obviously. Whoever those 7,000 buy swipes were, that wasn't a real good trade. All right, so you can see the stop run started. You can see the red line. I mean, how great is that, accuracy-wise? I think that's right. Again, forgive me if I'm going the old way. It's going to take me a while to remember to do the hotkeys. All right. So that's that, I think. Sure, that's accurate. Remember, you want all the prices in that zone. That's correct. All right, so that's step one. Let's get our bubbles back.
Stock sell GC 187 contracts.
Like I told you guys, the worst traders on the planet are in gold. Stop run after stop run after stop run. 8.17 is your current ATR in here.
Gold stock sell GC 235 contracts.
Good traders. All right, so we're actually still above the yellow lug, right? So if, for instance, if this setup, I just drew it, holds and we move above here, I can get in aggressively long. For me to get short, I need to see the full ATR, which is 8.25 points. I just showed that. Then I need to see a retest of the zone, and then I need to see failure, and then I'll go short. You want to pay attention to this area where it couldn't get to multiple times the last couple days. Looks like we're headed right there. If that gets out of here, Armageddon. Going to zero today. Just kidding, but I still think it's going to get smushed. All right, so 8.25 points. And we know the bottom of the zone is at 37.25, right? So I need to see, what's that? 20, 28, 25, 28. Is that right? Yeah. Meaning, remember I said I need to see ATR retest, so I need to see full ATR, and that's down at 28. That's 8.25 points. Then I need to see a comeback, retest the zone. Then I need to see a failure. I go ATR plus 10%, so I'll go pretty much 9 points out of here. And then watch it go to zero today. So that's brewing. We're already short Russell. And then I'm just waiting for new lugs in NASDAQ so I can take a short on a retest of everything that just fired off. I cannot believe this is not updating. But it is what it is. I mean, this is what this refresh button's for too, because especially on Sierra, a lot of times the data gets stale, so you have to you definitely have to refresh or restart it. But I restarted it this morning, so I know that's not the case. So, or the parameters just aren't here yet. And you can see here as well, this is an area where this could temporarily bounce. This prior, and this is where this, if you look at this is stuff you guys want to pay attention to, right? So let's undo these merges. This day, this could not get inside this very profile that we're at right now. Try to get in, nope. Try to get in, nope. Close back inside. Here we are again. If this gets inside here, it's very high odds that we get down to there. This very likely could bounce right here, right? So this is a great trading area right here. If you get a setup right here, it's a very good area. Either way you want to trade it, right? Let's merge these back together. there you go. Very important area. Any questions, Bruce, by the way? I've been talking nonstop for almost an hour.
I've been answering a lot of questions in here. Let me take a quick look.
All right. So we had buy ice here. Just I didn't mean to cut you off, but didn't want to draw this. So that this is the most recent zone as well. So let's see how it reacts. So you can see you see the swipes, which is awesome. But this didn't start till here. So I'm gonna. This is the top of the zone. You can see it. Here's the spike. Here's your lines. And there. Draw that there. And then you want to go down to the bottom of it, which is all the way over here. Your zone, bring your bubbles back. ATR in here is 32. So this is now officially an ATR below here, right? This just moved. Right now it is. So this just moved 32 points below here. So actually, even if we don't get new lugs, now that this is pushed an ATR below here, if we go retest failure, I'm going short this market. And this, mind you, this is a place this could easily bounce back to this zone too. Retest failure there, and I'm waiting for an ATR retest failure at ES, and I'm already short Russell. So we said what, 28 in here, so we need to see 28. So guys, remember, like this is the way I trade. When the lugs are in a certain position or for a certain area, I wait for conservative entry. Does it mean it's going to retest? No. From my experience, my studies, this is not official, right? Just from watching thousands of these, I know that these markets retest the volume areas about 80% of the time. That's just my personal experience. I don't have data for that, but if I went back and I did it, and I went and replayed every day for the last 3 years, I would bet you that's 80%. You know, you just don't know how far it goes before it goes back there, but 80% of the time it retests. So my point is, I'm waiting for one of these. It may not come back here, and I just sit there twiddling my thumbs as the market dives 50 points, right? So you have to decide as a trader, how you trade this stuff is the art. Talk about this every single webinar. This is the science. There is no disputing there was 1,000 stop runs here, right? How you trade this is up to you. You may say, I love this area to go short. The minute this breaks out of here, I'm going short. Or the minute it gets an ATR below, I'm going short aggressively. I'm not waiting for a retest. This is the way I trade it. You can adapt my style, or you can come up with your own style. I say this every time. I highly recommend you do what I do to start, and then as you understand it and you have success with it, because this is the ultimate edge, you will have success with it if you follow the rules. Then you can start adding in your own flavor and different things that you know, again, like you say, this is an important area. I want to be short right away. Stuff like that, right? But this is the way I trade it. Doesn't mean you have to trade it like I trade it, but you might want to heed my experience of watching thousands of these, is what I'm telling you. So this may not retest, and I may just be sitting here watching it die. I am short Russell, so at least I got that going for me, which is nice. Movie Bruce.
Caddyshack.
1,000 times too. You're about to get another verbal lashing.
Caddyshack.
Which one? What is it?
Caddyshack.
Very good. All right, you're out of the doghouse for the day. We're definitely in the doghouse. Oh, there we go. Finally got the new lugs. Perfect. All right, this is Russell. But first, I just want to see where this market profile composite high. So again, that was 1820, basically 1830-ish. Right, so I'm just going to put an order in because I know I'm going to miss this trade, getting out of a couple of these. So I'm just going to put my.
Icebergs sell GC 152 contracts.
So I'm going to make that 3. I'm going to get out of 3 there, and I'm going to let 2 ride and see if we can get all the way down to the blue lug today. All right. So that's that. Now we have new lugs.
December Icebergs sell NQ 152 contracts.
All right, so I was waiting for the retest of the step. Whoa, what did I do there? Don't start this, please. Hold on. It's this epic pen. I did something. I just dimmed my whole screen. Hold on. Come on. I don't know. Oh, there we go. All right. So anyway, I was waiting for a retest failure of that. Now we have something new. Now I can trade off that, and I can probably trade aggressively because we're below the new yellow lug. So let's hurry up and draw this. So you can see the big money's starting to play, right? That's what you want to wait for. That big money disrupts the algos. You don't want to play in the algos. That's why I always recommend that you're not trying to short-term scalp for a couple points, because you're going to get algo to death unless you actually have it programmed, right? So big money for algos, worst nightmare. It runs them over. So when you see the big money, that's like go time for directional trades, and that's what we're trying to do here on this position trading that I'm doing. All right, that's your newest setup. We're just hammering these stocks. How are those 7,000 buy swipes up there at the high? Was that a good trade? Whoever did that? If they're working for a firm, they're probably fired right now. I can tell you that. All right, so we're almost at the blue lug already on the new lugs. That's only 30 points away. So now, like, I can't really short this because, like, the whole reason I just said I don't short into blue lugs. But there's something you want to pay attention to where I possibly could. Remember I said as long as if the volume's heavy relative volume, then I could do that. And you can see, granted this isn't at the blue lug, but this is what I'm talking about. If I'm seeing relative volume that's two or more times the normal for this time period, that's what this is showing you, and then I'll short it into a major lug. We're not there yet, but if I see this kind of bar, so say the blue lug's right here, which it is, and we get down to here, and then I see one of these, then I'll take the short aggressively. See what I'm saying? Other than that, I just pass on the trade because I know how powerful those Ludwig levels are. All right, so that's that zone. I got filled at that on 3 of those, almost to the exact tick. That's not coincidence. Again, that's why you guys want to know these areas. Very important to take some of your position off. Where is my sorry. Over here. So that blue lug in Nasdaq's 92.50. But back to the Russell. This is why. Well, that wasn't even right. Yeah, it was way down here. What am I doing? Just cost myself 50 ticks. What I was just looking at. I'm gonna put those back on because that should not have been my exit. Right, that was just a mistake on my part, but I got lucky and then I was able to enter it at a better price. This is where I should have been out down here. So try that again. I'm sure that'll work out for me, right? I'm sure it won't rip up 400 ticks now. All right. All right, so now what we're waiting for in ENAS. Nothing else has come in, so this is still an active volume event that I'm waiting for a retest failure. We got the ATR, now I'm waiting for it to retest, then come back and fail, then I'm going to go short, and my stop's going to go an ATR above there. Okay. And if my room members are on this webinar, then they should be in one of our main trades that we've been working on, and they should be very happy right now because it looks like it's working. Let's see here. So we're below the yellow lug, but see how we're kind of just dancing around it. So I'm still going to wait for retest failure. Technically, I guess I could have got it short aggressively, but this is kind of dancing around. So I'm just going to wait for retest failure. If I don't get it, I don't get it, but it's happening right now. So my retest is within 10% of the ATR of the zone. So ATR is 8.25. That's basically 0.8 ticks, or 0.8 of a point. So within 1 point of this zone. So the bottom of the zone was 37 quarter. So if it gets to 36 quarter, I consider that a retest, right? And then when it does that, that's where I'll go short. So waiting for this. I really hope my room is in this trade. They should be long based on what we've been talking about. Again, guys, I'm not going to, these Bookmap webinars are just position trading webinars. If you want to learn the shorter term things we're working on, head on over. But it's pretty incredible the thing that we're doing right now. And they all work perfectly when I'm not taking them because I can't take it right now, obviously. All right, did that get to 36 quarter? It sure did. See the price line there? Right there. So that is an official retest. So now ATR is still basically 8. It's not a coincidence that just got real close there. I've watched that 1,000 times. All right, so now I can get in this trade. So now we got to figure out a risk, right? So if I'm getting in 9 points, so it's basically 9 points, 8.25 points. So I'm getting in 8.25 points. That's just outside an ATR as it comes back. And then I got to risk 8.25 points above this zone, right? So that's right there is 16.5 points plus the size of this zone is another 5. So that's 21.5 points of risk I have to take. Right, so then I go to my risk calculator. Again, part of my room. Don't email me for this. This is one of the perks of being in my room. What did I just say? 21 points. So I could put on a 3 lot based on my account size for this position trading, and then risking 2% of that, aka $3,400. Got it? So I could put on 3. So the bottom of this zone was 37.25. So that's can't add right now. It's 29. So why can't I add right now? 27, 28, yeah, 29. 28.75 is actually 8.25. That's where I will go short this. All right, so that's ready to go. So, you know, like I was talking about, the art, you could say the minute this retest, I'm going short right here. I don't need to see it do this again. Right? You can say, I'm going to wait and see if you can get in the zone. I'm going to short there. You can get it. You can do whatever you want. It's your money, right? My point is, this is the best way that I have found for me personally after watching these for so many years now. The best way to, because I see all the time, you get the ATR, you get the retest, and then it just does that. And you're like, oh, that didn't work. So I wait for it to fail again, and then I'm in. So again, you know I'm going to get smoked on this for not just getting out when I could have, but that's fine. I'm following my rules, right? You guys, you have to follow your rules when you're trading. You cannot be randomly, subjectively changing things when you have trades on. You're never going to be a consistent trader, and everybody on here knows what I'm talking about. Any questions, Bruce? Like, get a drink of water?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, not. I mean, someone's saying that you're looking at maybe the September lugs, not the December.
For what product?
For I guess on the Ludwig levels.
No, I mean each product. These are all December. This
All
is December.
Okay.
Yeah, he's exactly right. So this didn't switch. That's good to know. Thank you. All right, let's see what I screwed up here. Let's see how much money I cost myself here not entering short a long time ago. This might hurt here. I don't know why this. So when I on my other products, when I change this chart, change the market profile chart, this changes as well. That is just not. That's not cool. Thank you for pointing that out, though.
No, it's Mr. Shizzle, M Shizzle.
Oh, she's actually in my room. That's Madame
okay.
Schnizzle.
Okay.
I wish someone else would have told me this. Ever. Well, it's my own fault, obviously, but when you got 100 sets of eyeballs on your charts, you think someone would have noticed that. All right, so it's pretty much the same, right? But this is even better though because we're not now. This is actually good. Thank you for pointing that out, man. I'm shizzle. Okay, so remember I was saying we were so close to the blue lug, I didn't want to short this aggressively, but now I could short it aggressively, right? Because granted, we're dancing around the yellow lug, but we're still pretty much below it. And I already think these markers are going to zero based on my if-then scenarios, right? So, and I'm just kidding when I say that. Don't take that literally and put on a trade and then write me and say, I thought you said it was going to zero. I just mean they should get killed. And you can see this is accepting in here. That's first and foremost, we saw what happened here. That led to this whole lot move. Now we're back here. I think it's that and then lower. All right, so anyway, let's get in this trade aggressively short, so I can be short all three. That's going to be a peach. I'm sure that'll work out. 30.5 is your
December stock sell and
doesn't matter.
215 contracts.
So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to trade off of this original zone, and then I can trail my stop off this new setup, right? Like we were just talking about in the crude, I think it was. So 1150, 31 points. That's 8150, 8050 plus 10% is like 7850. That's where I'll short this aggressively. And then what I can do, I can actually probably put more size on than this because my stop has now been contracted. I'll show you that here in a second. All right, let's see if I can use my hotkeys here. So you can see these stops, you can see the red line, you can see the white line. I think that's correct. Oh, use your hotkeys, use your hotkeys. There we go. Yeah, it was right there. There is no hotkey there. There's no hotkeys for the colors, right, Bruce?
No.
F. You're back in the doghouse. All right, there we go. Let's get our bubbles back. There's your zone. So what I'm doing now is, if I get filled on that trade, so remember what I was, pretend this yellow zone is not there. Remember I was going to short this, so I'm still going to short this aggressively based on this, right? Wrong color. Now I will still short off of that zone, but now I have a new setup. Now I can trail my stop. And before I was going to have to trail an ATR above this, right? Now I can trail an ATR above this, which will basically put me just outside that zone versus an ATR above that zone. Right? It's 78. 70. But I'm filled on ES too, so we'll get our stop in there in a second. 78. Okay. So I could also go long here too. If this, as long as this doesn't get an ATR below, I mean, granted I would be filled, but I could get an ATR. I could go, if this gets an ATR retest fail, I could go long, but I don't think that's going to happen. It doesn't matter what I think, right? I let the volume tell me, but I have my opinions, but my opinions usually are wrong. That's why I have a system. Not wrong, but when I'm trading, my whole trading used to be by gut with scalping, right? Like in and out of the order book all day long. Now my gut feeling is wrong probably 80% of the time. So that's why I have a system, right? All right, so now we're short here. There's nothing new come in, so I have to put my stop 8.25 points below here or above here. It's actually more than that now. ATR is up to 8, so 9 points above this zone. Puts me at 49.25.
ES December iceberg by ES.
There we go.
700 to contract.
So that's what I wanted, right? Because now I can trail my stop. Instead of 49.25, I can now put it in ATR above this newest volume event. So hurry up and get this set up so I don't get smoked here. Use your hotkeys, use your hotkeys. There to there. Let's make it blue for buy ice. I still not filled the NASDAQ, by the way. All right, so we know the top of this zone's at 27.25. We're going 9 points outside of there now for the stop, right? So that puts me at 36.75. Right, so instead of, I just saved myself over 10 points of risk here. Right, so now 36.75. I'm gonna stop. I am right in front of that zone. You could move it outside of that zone if you want, but I don't want to risk another 5 points. I'm just, I'm following my rules here. So hopefully you guys follow what I did there. I'm short, and now what I can do here too is add to this trade if it moves an ATR below here. You want to be very careful at spot gamma levels. Oh, by the way, remember we talked about at the very beginning of the webinar on how this thing was having a divergence How did that work out? You see that? This did spike up, but this wasn't a big divergence. Let's look at the, but there still was a divergence, and I was paying attention to that, especially at a spot gamma level which was up there that we talked about, that 3960 area. You see, this is not red light, green light, like I said, but it eventually catches up, right? You had the options going this way, market going this way, market turn around, caught up. Now they're just kind of following each other, so there's no real edge there. Let's see where we're at here. So blue lug's not all the way down. It's the 38.97 quarter. The one thing you want to pay attention to, I really want to watch. I mean, I already have my stop in, but I would not be surprised if this market paused here. It's taken multiple days to even get to the bottom of this guy. If this does a bounce, will not surprise me at all. I may get stopped out of the CS trade. If this could punch through here, then we're coming down here would be my call. That's my opinion, obviously, but I'm all set. Like, I just let this play out now. I don't sit there and be like, oh, I don't know. Should I get out here? This is an important level. This is the most important thing. This, not lines. I know that's an important area. I'll get out of some, if like I am on the Russell, this is too close for me to get out of this one. And I already know I'm not risking much, right? But if this was, that market profile was way down here, then I'd say, yeah, I get out of one. But I just entered this trade. I'm just going to let this play out and hope it can punch through. If it doesn't, then it comes back and stops me out. I take a small loss on this trade. It's not a crazy loss. Move on to the next one, right? And I'm already, and I just got filled on. This is a very rare occurrence, by the way. Remember, I got back in because I made a mistake here on my exit, and then I just got filled at this is the exact thing we were just talking about in ES. This is the bottom of this one, but we got out of one here. Right in front of that, right? That's why I got out of 3 right there. So that was a good trade. And I still have 2 on. Now I'm going to let this puppy ride. Unless I get an opposing SI signal, right? Meaning a bullish signal, say something comes in and we do ATR retest failure, then I'll get out. Other than that, I'm going to see if we can get down to this 1814 area. And that would put us right around the point of control too. A little under. But it blew us a little above the point of control. But you can see that's where this basically ripped off from the other day. All right, so that's that. I still was never filled in NASDAQ. Remember, if this is able to get an ATR above this latest volume setup, then I'm canceling this short, which it may do right now. This is the bounce I was expecting, so I'm probably going to take a loss on that ES. But that's what it is. You can't predict what's going to go on. You know your areas and you play your rules, right? This thing could also just kept going, which it's been doing lately on the sell-offs. So 31.32 is your ATR here. The top of this yellow zone, which is the stop run, was 96 quarter. So that puts me at 27.50 would be a full ATR. We still haven't got a full ATR. So this short is still alive. If this gets up to 27.50, which is a full ATR above this, this is canceled. It's real close. So that area did hold an ES, right? And I knew that was a possibility, but I just made a nice trade on Russell, so I was willing to let that go. I mean, this was almost to the exact tick. You can come up with your rules and say, you know what, I don't play. I'm not going, just like I don't go short into a lug. You say, I'm not going short into a market profile composite low. I'm waiting for it to get out, and then I'm just like I wait for new lugs, right? I should have probably taken off one there, but I didn't, and I did it for a reason. I knew this could easily bounce here, especially after a straight move through this profile area. But I made money on that Russell trade, and I was able to control my risk. I was able to bring my risk down 10 points, right? So I was fine with that. This get an ATR above here. Pretty close. 25.50. Missed it by 2 points. There we go. Now it's coming back. All right, so I'm assuming I'm going to get stopped out of this ES trade. Still alive right now, but. So what I could do as well now, again, I think these markets are going to zero. Again, kidding. I think they're going to get killed. Doesn't matter what I think. I'm letting this tell me. So if this is able to get the full ATR above here, stop me out, and it does this, this, and this, I'll go long, right? I am a day trader. I'm trading off real-time volume events, right? I have opinions. So the whole idea is when you have an opinion or you have a thesis and it starts to move in that favor, and then you get the volume event in your favor, that's when you trade bigger, right? That's when you call that an A plus trade. You could trade 4% of your account value, right? So I always say, almost all your trades, unless they're A plus, you want to be 2% at the most. But if you get a trade where you're like everything's aligned, you get your volume set up, you're like, I want to trade 4%. Well, just remember, the most you should lose in your trading account in a day is about 6% at the most. At the most, this is where you cut yourself up. Well, if you decide to trade bigger on one, on a setup that is just slapping you in the face, fine, trade 4. You can even trade 6. But if you're wrong, you're done for the day. This one, if you trade 4, you basically have, if you're wrong, you have one more bullet. If you lose, you're done for the day. Set it up with your broker where you've hit a certain amount, you're done. Don't think you're going to be able to do it. I'm not going down this rabbit hole. I've done it 1,000 times, but just don't think you're going to be able to do it when you're emotional, right? When you're taking loss after loss after loss and you think you're just going to stop. Most traders are very competitive. When you're playing a game and you're getting beat down like a baseball game or tennis or whatever, you don't just say, oh, I'm done, you win. No, you say, let's play another one. Let's go, right? You do the same thing with trading. You're like, screw that. I'm risking another $5,000. And then $5,000 turns into 10, 20, 50, and then you blow out your account, right? So like I say, every webinar, if your broker does not do that for you, get another broker. There's plenty of competition out there. Find a broker that you will set a predetermined stop loss for the day where they just turn you off until the start of Globex, right? I like to use the saying all the time. It's one of the best sayings out there. Everybody's got from Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? Yeah, I'm about to get stopped out of this puppy. Yeah, there's a stop out. Hold on. All right, so took a, that's a small loser. My risk was $3,600 originally, and I took a third of that, right? Because of the new setup allowed me to get out. So this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, this is the most important information. If you're watching this sell-off, you're like, yeah, here we go. This is it. This is the big one. But you have no idea this buy ice came in here to stop the market. That's the most important information you can possibly have. And if you do know, then you adjust. You're like, oh, okay. Do you think I like to stop the buy ice coming in? No, I wanted this thing to die. But it did, and it stopped the market. That is really important information. It's the information to know. You stop out, and the way I do it, at ATR above there, then I'm done with the trade. I wait for my new setup, right? If you're just looking at a bar chart, you're like, what just happened there? I don't understand. We're breaking down out of this balance area, and the thing should have just died, right? This looks like this. It still might. It's just retesting the bottom of this, but right now you're like, whoever's short and they got short down there, they're like, what the hell just happened? Well, you know what just happened. Buy ice just came in and stopped the market. That's pretty important information. All right, Bruce, any questions?
I think we're all set up.
That was a good exit.
Johnny said he came in here for the rants. You're building a following.
Follow
Let me see here. I think under. Do we have any questions here?
What I'm going to do here too, guys. I've adopted this new rule as well after a couple crude trades I had on that were huge. So I get out one of three reasons, right? Major lugs, red and green. I mean, of all my position. So red or blue and red. Opposing setups. So just like we just did for the ES, right? There was an opposing setup. I got stepped out. Or if the market moves just outside 2 ATRs from the low, the low point, or if I was short from the high point, 2 ATRs away from the low, I'm out there too, because I can't tell you how many trades I've had on where, because again, I'm waiting for a lug or a volume event. Well, if that doesn't happen, I've had a couple trades in crude, like, it was like this, and then it would just run 170 ticks the other way with no setup, no nothing, and I'm holding the bag. Like, what am I doing, right? So I've adopted I've added that other rule in. If it does move, an ATR is about 52 right now, so I'm basically just outside 100 ticks here. If it moves 2 ATRs, I'm just out of the trade, and I'm, nice profit, on to the next trade. So that's my rule that I've incorporated as of late. All right, so we actually just got a new setup in ES here. So like I said, you get stopped out, wait for the next setup, could be right back in here. That's 500. That's exactly threshold, right at this other stop run area, but I'm going to get rid of that because there's a new event. I'm going to draw this correctly, and I'm going to use my hotkeys like the wizard that I am. So glad I figured that out.
I'm never going to live that down, am I?
No.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, what? I didn't know that. That's awesome. That you hear me complain every webinar about the 1982 drawing tools. So you think you would have said. Scott, let me show you firsthand. Let me take control of the screen. Let me show you these hotkeys. So you have an F, but you today, but you redeem yourself with the Caddyshack quote. So I'll forgive you.
Lucky.
Better late than never, too. So at least I figured it out by now, and I didn't figure anything out. My room told me about it. So, guys, that's the importance of having community too. I mean, Bookmap has the same thing. The Bookmap Discord. Most of you are probably on that or the YouTube, but that's one of the gifts of having a community, right? Different people have different views. Different people know different things, like see things that I've never seen. A couple of things on Bookmap, that I didn't know about that they point out, and other things too, like. I don't like the one thing I don't allow in my room is guys just throwing on trades and or after the fact, I made 30 points on that, or shorting ES here. That's fine. That's fine if you want to say what you're doing, but say why you're doing it. That is how my room differs than other rooms. I don't allow guys just making random calls without explaining why they're doing it. And then if I don't like the reasoning, or if I think the reasoning is faulty, then I give them a verbal lashing, and I'm like, that's incorrect. Like what you're doing there is not correct, because I want my room to learn. I don't want them just following haphazard nonsense calls. Anybody can make a call. It's 50-50, right? Oh, I think we're going down. Great. Why are we going down? Well, let's see. There's a Fibonacci moving average cross spiked with an RSI with it's like, okay, that's not good enough for me. I want to know legitimate reasons, and I want to know that, you've back tested it, so on and so forth, right? I mean, I'm not saying that there's not good reasons to be trading, right? You may trade off the RSA. You may trade off Fibonacci's. Fibonacci's are fine, as far as exits and stuff. My point is, I'm not saying other methods are wrong, but you better have a good reason why you're using them, so on and so forth. So that's how my room differs. I just don't let nonsense fly in with guys making calls nonstop. So there's one guy in there is actually still in there. He's probably on this webinar that was supposed, he kept making these calls and he kept putting these zones. And at first it was after the fact, and then a couple of them were, he would call beforehand, and we would just draw these zones. And everyone's saying, well, what are you trading off of? So I said, if you're going to keep just posting zones, explain what you're doing. So he's supposed to be doing a webinar for us, and now he's disappeared. So I think he's in the Bookmap room, but if you're on this, we're waiting for your webinar, sir. All right, so I just got stopped out of that Russell, the 2 ATRs. That was a nice trade there. I took a small loser in here. Actually, I completely forgot about crude, I'm sure. Oh, wait. Okay, that's good. I just was stood back and forth here. Oh my gosh, this was a huge winner. Look at this. What did I do here? All right, so I'm probably stopped out of this right now, actually. I'm just going to get out of this. That's not cool. This is what... No, that wasn't a winner. That was a big loser. Was there just some news out, too? This thing's trading like there's news. So that was not good. So I got in here, and I knew... This is probably pretty much what should happen here, actually. So I just got lucky I came over here quick enough. So remember, I was getting short off of this setup up here, which I did, and I remember I traded more size. So I was getting short off of that, and then this stuff came in, and I said, I'm just going to keep this original entry, but I can trail my stop based on this. So I think this was almost perfect, actually. Hold on, I got it. Of course, I have it on my other account that I didn't have a stop in. So ATR in here is 38, so I should have been out 40 ticks above this zone, 42 ticks above this zone. Puts me at 47. So I literally got out almost the exact price I would have gotten out. So that makes me happy that I didn't carry this thing huge in my face, but still not cool. This thing was just trading like something just came out. Like when you see the thing like fluttering around like crazy, there's news. And I just got burned the other day. We had an awesome trade. That new trade we're working on in my room, it was working out fine, and then they came out. The Biden administration said there's something about the reserves, the emergency reserve, and the thing just ripped like 100 ticks straight. So these are markets, guys. That's going to happen. So you take your loss, like whatever. Something just came out there. Whatever happened. On to the next trade. It sucks, but that's trading. Right? The thing is, we talk about this every webinar too, right? Trading is a percentage game. You just keep putting them on. You're going to have weird crap happen. You're going to have news events. You're going to have a Fed clown talking in the middle of the day 5 times a day. That's been happening lately. Things like that, where all bets are off, right? And that's part of trading. But if you have the edge, you just keep putting them on, just like a casino knows they have the edge. They just let players play. They know at the end of the year they'll be profitable because it's math. Same with this. This is the ultimate edge. I know over the course of a series of trades, I will make money. Some trades aren't going to work out, like this one. Speaking of which, let me get out of this. All right, so not cool there. But this is now, by the way, potential long setup, right? I don't think we got an ATR below this zone. Let's see. Bottom of this zone was 85. We got down to 50, 54, 55, 30 ticks. ATR is 36 ticks, so that did not violate to the downside, this setup. I'm going to make this a different color so it's not confusing to people. So that's that setup. We did not get an ATR below there, so it still qualifies as a long for me. Now what we did is we did get an ATR above this zone. Right? So we go ATR retest failure. I'll go long. I still need to see the retest because I'm pretty sure we're still below the yellow lug. So this is the conservative entry. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. All right, we're getting close to the time anyway. I think your other guy's starting here. All right, so we're below the yellow lug. So I will go along this setup, but I need to see ATR retest failure. So I'm just going to delete this because this is done, so it doesn't confuse people. All right, so this is the most recent setup. We did not get a full ATR below here, so this is still qualifies as long. Here's your ATR retest failure. I will take the long here now. This is an important area in crude, even though I think this thing is in trouble. This is an area where it looks like it may hold. This zone over here is buying tail directional conviction. It's trying to hold here, so we could just pop back up and do what crude does, just whipsaw for another day or two, right? So I'll go long. I'm look at my thesis is short. I think this market's going to get smushed. Doesn't mean it's going to happen right now. I'm a day trader. This volume setup is telling me this should have done that. It didn't. Now we got an ATR. That is my proof that the sellers are not winning. It was able to get an ATR above here. Now I'll go long. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right, Bruce, unless there's any other questions, fire away. If not, I know your other guy's starting here, so.
Yeah, no, just one quick question. Do you do anything differently due to the quad witching?
You got to be careful. I mean, I don't personally, but it would probably be wise to either cut down your size or maybe not even trade that day, right?
Yeah.
It's just like we talk about all the time in my room. We have a couple different trades. The main trade we're working on, besides position trading, even position trading is the same thing. When these Fed guys talk 4 times a day lately, it's just insanity, right? So when they're talking, it's just, I don't care what you see here. They say something different, the market is just going to rip it because it's new information. It's just like trading before a number, right? So you have to be very cognizant of that and say to yourself, it's fine if you do trade in those situations, but if you do, you better be ready for some nonsense, right? Because it's new information hitting the market. So the wise thing to do is if a Fed guy's talking, if a number is coming out, quad witching, so on and so forth, you just don't trade that day, right? Or you cut down your size. Right? So I personally, I'll trade quad witching, but it's probably there's a lot of dynamics that day, and it probably skews my overall results. I would guess, as far as wins and losses, but personally do. I try not to trade with the Fed chirping, but sometimes I find myself doing that as well. I make mistakes like everybody else and get antsy and stuff like that. But the smart thing to do is just not trade those events or trade when those things are going on. All right, so quickly, this volume event fired up down here. This is now canceled. Obviously, we obviously got an ATR. And you can see it's struggling at this prior one. But I do get questions sometimes. Hey, do you trade prior events? I always divert to the recent event, divert, whatever word that is supposed to be. But if the event led to large directional conviction, you can play it as a retest failure type of thing. And this one obviously led to directional conviction, right? That was this move here. Right? So that's directional conviction. So you could trade this if you wanted to. I'm not going to put this on right now, but you could trade this as literally a retest failure. As soon as you get an ATR out of here, give this short a chance. I would definitely watch this zone here. That's the last setup that fired off to be getting out, and then maybe turn around, get out, and
December iceberg by ES 703 contracts.
All right, I'll quickly draw the zone, see how we're going to play it, and then I'm not buff. So here, that fire off, still coming in. That's threshold 700.
ES December iceberg by ES 703 contracts.
There's even more.
And just a quick note here, Mike and Noah really appreciate your webinar, Scott. They're getting back into trading, or they just really look forward to it. I did put your contact information in the chat a few times, so if you guys want to reach out to Scott about his course or whatever, you can reach him there.
And again, guys and girls, I do this twice a day, every day in my trade room. So do an hour in the morning, actually more than an hour, usually an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, and then an hour to close at the close. So that's exactly what you're seeing here. I do all day long. All right, so this is the volume event that happened. All right, so now we will quickly, my process, where are we at in the lugs? We're above the yellow lug, so you could take this aggressively long, right? Again, guys, the Ludwig levels aren't on my website, but if you email her or go to ludwiglevels.com, you put in she's got a free 3-day trial. Say you saw the Ludwig levels on the Bookmap webinar, and she's got special pricing for you guys, and you also get special pricing as part of my trade room as well. ATR in here is 8.09, so I can actually, because we're above the yellow lug, I'm just going to delete this volume setup right now. I can go long this aggressively, right? Again, I'm a day trader. I think these things are going to get killed, but the volume events are telling me that's not happening right now, right? So am I just going to short it just because? Well, if I was looking at a bar chart, I might, but I know there's buy ice that the market just reacted to. It already reacted down here when we got stopped out. Now there's more buy ice, and the market just popped off of that too, right? So if this moves 8 points outside of here, or 9 points outside of here, I'm going long. 36 quarter. So that's 45 quarter. I will go long. That's the right size because we were doing it off an 8 ATR earlier, right? So that's how I will play that. I will still go short this too, as long as it doesn't get an ATR above here to disqualify my short. We're above the yellow lug, so I'll wait for a full ATR or retest a failure, and then I'll go short again, right? Just keep playing the probabilities. This is the biggest edge you can have. Have your rules. Don't violate your rules. Wait for your setup. And it's go time. All right, guys. Unless there's no other questions, that's it for me.
Yeah, no, that's it. Thank you very much, Scott. And we will connect with you next Thursday, guys. Scott will he will not be presenting. We'll do a special event with Scott maybe the following week or at your discretion, Scott. The reason being is like all next week is going to be the Pro Trader webinar. Typically we have, Scott, but the Pro Trader webinar is going to have a focus on options trading with Bookmap and using Bookmap. So that's what we're going to cover. And Scott, he day trades. He doesn't trade options.
Yeah, I mean, if I trade options, it's more of just position, like, directional for longer term trades. My opinion type of thing. I don't claim to be an expert at all, because I'm not in options trading. So yeah, I would not be valuable for those webinars.
Yeah. So we'll do a special event with Scott. Like I said, the following week or whenever, and then do it then. Yeah, thanks, Scott.
Thank you, appreciate it. One winning trade, one small loser, and then I kind of took it on the chin there. I still think that was news and crude, but it is what it is, right? It's like, doesn't matter what it was, I got stopped out. So if you have an edge, just keep taking the trades. Make sure you follow your rules, and this is the ultimate edge. You will make money over the long run, right? You just can't violate your rules, as you see, or your sizing. All right, I will see you guys not next Thursday, the following Thursday.
Yep, excellent. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, appreciate it, Bruce.